It is time for prayers. Friday, Kufur Qasem Mosque. We are in Israel, about 20 kilometers from Tel Aviv, in a small town populated by Arab Israeli citizens. Here's the headquarters of an Islamic NGO which has been the collection point for material and financial help for the people of Gaza since the Israeli bombing and shelling of Gaza. About 20% of Israel's population are Palestinians with Israeli citizenship. They, of course, have relatives in Gaza and the West Bank. They give massively.
We live a real conflict as Arabs. Palestinians who hold Israeli citizenship. We're torn between the laws of our state, where we live, and our feelings towards our brothers, suffering because of the Israeli occupation.
Legislative elections are approaching in Israel, and the events in Gaza and their consequences feed every conversation. The Schottenfels, who live in Jerusalem, are looking forward to having their army reservist son at home. He's been at the Gaza front. We meet his father and brothers a few days before he's due back. Family discussions on this subject are often fiery.
When you're being attacked on a daily basis with, in truth, not very efficient missiles, but missiles nonetheless, that kept a whole section of the country within running distance of a bomb shelter all the time, I don't think we had any choice but to react. And I don't think there's any real alternative to that. Because the Hamas hangs out amongst civilians and keeps its missiles and other supplies in civilian locations, some damage gets done to civilian targets.
I don't agree with what my dad said. They should have searched for a different solution in a peaceful way. But also, I think that once Israel decided to go to war, I think they used extreme force.
We meet Gideon Levy in Tel Aviv, a notorious peacenik. He's been lashed with hate mail over his columns in the newspaper Haaretz, in which he criticized the bombardment of Gaza. He calls this war the most brutal and senseless in the history of Israel.
Israel didn't achieve anything in this war. I think the Hamas is stronger today because the popular sentiment in Gaza is mainly today against those who did it to them, and this is the state of Israel. And it's always after such attacks that people become more extreme. It is in our society like this. When there were the suicide bombers, the Israeli public opinion went to the extreme, and the Palestinian public opinion will go now more for the extreme.
This is Nazareth in Galilee, a place of holy pilgrimage for Christians. Most of its inhabitants are Arab Israelis, descendants of ones who did not leave in 1948 and who later took Israeli citizenship when the State of Israel was created. Nazareth is usually filled with tourists. Now it's mostly deserted. The war in Gaza isn't only bad for business. We hear this cloth merchant says it has destroyed 60 years' effort of living together.
For years, whenever I'd watch television with my children, I would always tell them that what's happening was very good, that the State of Israel was doing something very positive, that it was trying to establish a sort of peace between the Arabs and the Jews inside this state. But what has happened in these 3 weeks? What the Israeli government has done in attacking Gaza has really destroyed everything.
حكومة إسرائيل على غزة كلبت كل المعايير.
Some are bitter, while others are wary. The parties of the right campaigning for these elections on a platform of security are ahead in opinion polls. Ahmad Tibi directs one of the 2 Arab parties represented in the Knesset, Israel's parliament. The Supreme Court has overturned a decision by the Central Elections Committee which wanted to ban these parties from the 10th of February ballot. Tibi wouldn't stop accusing Israel of war crimes in Gaza. He goes on, repeating that democracy in Israel is reserved for Jews and that racism rules.
We are not equals in any aspect, in any field of life. There is a contradiction between democracy and equal terms and between defining yourself on an ethnic background or religious background. If you are a Jewish state, any Jewish citizen is superior to any non-Jewish citizen. I cannot accept it.
But Judaism is a nation, not only a religion, is the response of Yossi Klein. This intellectual, known for his religious commitment, supported the offensive in Gaza. Yet he insists that this nation must pick up the shattered dialogue within it.
The basis of Israel as the state of the Jewish people is, for most Jews, a non-negotiable. That's the first word. It's not the last word. I don't believe that the Jewish return home is going to be complete until we return to the Middle East. And at the moment, we are not part of the Middle East. The Middle East has rejected us. We have not found our place here. And I see the Arab Israelis as an invaluable resource to help us find the language with which to speak to the Middle East.
This argument is not widely shared in Israel. Recent surveys indicate that 60% of the population considers the Israeli Arabs as a threat to the country and wants them to join a Palestinian state if or when that day comes. Nadia Hilo says that would be unthinkable. She's the only Arab Christian woman with a seat in the Knesset. She represents Jaffa, a mixed town near Tel Aviv. She says a government policy that would do away with the social and economic inequality between the Jews and the Arabs is the only thing that can diffuse today's explosive tension.
I think that 99% of the Arab Israeli Palestinian will remain here because here is also the home of the parents, the home of the grandparents. So we have to find the way how to live peacefully also between us in Israel.
These rappers who met in a Jaffa bomb shelter in 2006 believe in the same thing. They take a strong stand for being mixed, singing in Hebrew, Russian or English.
Enough of these wars between us. We have to find a solution that leads us to peace, which will allow a reconciliation. If I can get along with you, with him, or with him, why can't it be that way for everybody? It's about time to do this.